So in this section, we're going to be talking about systems placements, which is a huge thing because without your systems, your van is just this shell. And it might be really, really pretty, but when a shed doesn't have light or heat, it's just a shed. We like to try and keep our water in an area that can still get heat from the heater, which is typically over by one of your wheel wells. We like to pick the passenger side wheel well because it's typically the opposite side of your fuel tank. For the electrical side, we like driver side by the wheel well. So you're trying to get these systems packed up and away so you can get, maximize your storage area.
And one big thing about switching those from side to side too is you don't want a van with all the weight on one side. Obviously that's gonna put the suspension hard on that one side. You might have a lopsided van. So, batteries are heavy, water's heavy, fuel's heavy. So we kind of try to displace those things a little bit. And the other thing to keep in mind, especially with water, is we like to store your fresh water inside because some people like to go skiing, some people like to go out in the cold weather. So you don't want your water freezing underneath the van because that obviously can cause a lot of issues as well. We do see a lot of black water or gray water tanks, which we'll describe those a little bit more in the future. But we can see those outside. We like to keep fresh water inside where your insulated heater and your insulation can work to keep that water warm.
Freezing water is just something that van lifing in the winter is a little bit difficult. You have to keep your heater running or you just drain your system. That's probably one of the easier ways to go about it. Winter rolls around, I drain my system and I just carry around a jug of water. And it's a little bit of a pain, but it's better than winterizing, unwinterizing, constant back and forth. Water can cause a ton of damage. So keep all your little water connections close and accessible. So if you do need to make repairs, you don't have to rip apart your entire galley to do so. Same goes with your electrical. AGMs don't really care about temperature too much, but lithium-ion batteries certainly do. And typically around 32 degrees, you'll find that most of these lithium batteries will stop accepting a charge, although you can discharge well below zero. Some lithium batteries do come with a battery heater to keep that battery warm enough to continue accepting a charge. Keep in mind, try to balance the vehicle as much as you can with the weight. For heaters, have it somewhere that is accessible because this is it's a furnace, and these things, especially with gasoline, have the propensity to coke up or to clog. And that means you need to take the thing out, pull it apart, and clean it out if running properly. So underneath the passenger side seat, if you have room for it, is a great location for your heater.
Usually on a Sprinter, that's pretty much always where we put the heater, especially on the diesel versions, we put it under that passenger side seat. Some different models have things under there, maybe an auxiliary battery sometimes. So you might have to think about putting it somewhere else. Sometimes we design a box that is just specifically for a heater, but that's another thing to consider as well, where you're gonna put your heater, if you want a heater at all.
Water heaters are an interesting thing to put in vans. You can go a very, very simple route and use one of those instant hot water things that you use for boiling water and turn them all the way down. That's probably the most basic way you can go about it. You can use those little propane ones if you can vent it outside. I've seen people using that stuff inside their vans. And although I can't recommend that, the introduction of carbon monoxide in your van is never a great idea, but I've seen that done in the past. One water heater that we do end up using for larger systems for, say, a shower would be an S-bar hydronic. This is a heater that goes outside your van and it circulates glycol, and it'll put the glycol into a heat exchanger which has a fan. So it's very much like kind of a furnace, like it's inside your house. So it'll heat the cabin, but it'll also heat up another heat exchanger that will warm up your water as well. These are pretty in-depth and usually complex installations. So if you've never done anything like this, I don't know if I would recommend you going in and diving in and trying it yourself. Although everyone, has to start at square one, and it's definitely possible. But if you don't know how to do that, we certainly do.
And this is why when we're talking about doing your research ahead of time, knowing what's essential to you, if you absolutely need hot water to do your dishes or wash your hands, you have to think about the fact that maybe you need a bigger electrical system to pair with that hot water that you want. So understanding, again, what you absolutely need in the van is essential because it's gonna dictate a lot of the layout like we described a little bit.
Another one of these things that you should really be thinking about is once you have your general layout in place, where are your light switches gonna be? Where is your heater control gonna be? Where are your plugs gonna be? Can you access them when you're standing in the cab? Do you have to climb in bed to do so? What happens when you're laying down and you need to turn the heat off in the middle of the night? Do you have to get up and walk across the van? Think about these kind of things. I like to try and get all of our electrical plugs and controls in a central area so nothing is difficult to get to. You don't have to crawl to the back of the van, you don't have to go under the bed, stuff like that. Maybe you need a plug under your bed for, say, airing up tires or something like that when you're working out of the back of the van. Maybe you need a plug by your kitchen to run your blender. So think about these kind of things. And one thing, especially if you have your van, get a Sharpie and trace out your walls. So that way you kind of have an idea of where things should be. Use a Sharpie to trace where you want to put these things, how high things are going to be. Label everything out. Be very, very critical and understand exactly where your wires are gonna go before you start putting anything in. Because nothing sucks more than putting everything together and go, I forgot a wire. So make sure you have everything planned out, mapped out, so you know what you're doing way ahead of the time that you're gonna need to be burying everything inside the walls. Don't sweat it. I know, when I talk to people about vans, their face just gets sheet white and like, oh my God. We're gonna go back through this stuff in depth, but just remember, like, these are crucial points to really start thinking about. So just give it thought. We'll get more in depth with this further along down the line and make sure you guys have a full understanding and set you guys up for success.